The galaxy had known peace for centuries. Different species, once at war, had learned to coexist. The Grand Council, made up of the strongest and wisest leaders from across the stars, worked together to ensure that no new threats would disturb the harmony of the galaxy. One quiet evening, a strange thing happened. A sudden flash of light appeared on the outer edges of the galaxy, near the uncharted space beyond the known star systems. At first, it was barely noticeable, just a small flicker among the vast blackness. But the galaxy was watching. The council members who had set up their advanced systems to monitor all space traffic immediately noticed something out of place. The flicker turned into a signal, slowly growing in strength. It was unlike anything the galaxy had ever heard. No language, no known patterns, just strange bursts of static and energy. The council's most skilled scientists and engineers studied the signal, trying to understand what it was. It was a frequency, yes, but one that did not belong to any race they knew. "We must inform the council," said Joran, the leader of the Scifists, a race known for their intelligence and deep understanding of space technology. He was an old, wise being, his blue skin wrinkled with age, but his mind sharp as ever. His voice echoed through the council's chambers. The council room was filled with representatives from every major species in the galaxy. The Shantari, tall and elegant with silver skin, the Durans, short but strong, their bodies like living stone, and the Zarak, with their insect-like features, all waited anxiously. "Is it a distress signal?" asked Asha, a young Zarak representative, her eyes wide with concern. "A call for help?" "We do not know yet," replied Joran. "But it is coming from a region of space that no one has ever explored. It is too far beyond the known systems." The signal's frequency shifted again, like a ripple across the fabric of space. It was unlike anything the council members had ever encountered. Some of the representatives began to whisper nervously, exchanging worried glances. "Perhaps it's just a malfunction," said Raul, the leader of the Shantari, his voice calm but skeptical. "There have been reports of old systems failing near the edge of the galaxy. It could be nothing." But Joran wasn't so sure. "I don't believe it's a mistake. This signal is deliberate." A low murmur spread through the room. The council was divided. Some were calm, brushing off the event as nothing more than an error, while others, like Joran, felt a deep sense of unease. "We should send a ship to investigate," Joran suggested. "It's better to know for sure." "I agree," said Asha. "The galaxy must be prepared for anything." "Sending a ship?" Roll raised an eyebrow. "Are we going to send an entire fleet on a wild goose chase for a signal?" "This is no joke," said Joran, his voice firm. "The last time the galaxy ignored a warning, it nearly tore us apart." There was silence in the room as the weight of Joran's words hung in the air. The galaxy had been at war many years ago, and the scars from that conflict were still fresh in everyone's minds. No one wanted to repeat the past. Finally, after a long pause, the council made its decision. A small fleet would be sent to the outer edges of the galaxy, to the source of the mysterious signal. Their mission was simple: find out where the signal was coming from and what it meant. The fleet was quickly prepared. 3 ships, each one representing a different species in the council, would venture out to the unknown. The journey would take several days, and during that time, the galaxy would wait in nervous anticipation. As the fleet left the safety of known space, the signal grew louder. It was now a constant hum, filling the space between the stars, like a warning from some far-off land. The ships navigated through the darkness, each captain staring ahead into the unknown. On the command ship, Captain Leora, a seasoned warrior from the Durans, stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the stars ahead. She had led many missions, but this one felt different. The air around her seemed heavier, charged with something she couldn't quite explain. "Captain," said her first officer, a young Duran named Haven, looking over the sensors. "The signal is getting stronger. It's almost as if it's calling us." Leora nodded, but her mind was focused. The unknown was always dangerous, but this was something more. Something wasn't right. As the fleet moved deeper into uncharted space, the signal seemed to pulse, and Leora couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The darkness of space felt colder now, and even the stars around them seemed to dim, as if they, too, were waiting for something. Far behind them, on the council station, Duran watched the fleet's progress. He didn't know what awaited them in the darkness, but one thing was clear. The galaxy was about to face something new, something that might change everything. The tension in the council chamber was thick. Representatives from all corners of the galaxy sat around a large round table, their eyes fixed on the glowing hologram in the center of the room. It was the same signal, the one that had appeared out of nowhere and caused such a stir. It flickered now on the table, changing in strange ways that made it hard to predict. Some of the species had begun to worry, while others tried to stay calm. "The signal is still growing stronger," said Duran, the Sithist leader, his voice steady but filled with concern. "We need to understand what this is before it's too late." The Shantari leader, Rahl, frowned, his tall frame leaning back in his chair. "And what if it's just some random signal? It could be a malfunction, nothing more. We've had systems break down near the outer edges before. Why make it a bigger issue than it is?" Duran turned to Rahl, his expression serious. "You don't know that for certain. We can't afford to ignore it. The last time we ignored a warning like this, many lives were lost. We must be cautious." Asha, the young Zarek representative, nodded in agreement. Her insect-like eyes glimmered with worry. "I agree with Duran. We don't know what's out there. What if this is a threat we've never faced before?" The room grew quieter. The Zarak were known for their ability to sense danger before it came, and her words made everyone think twice. "We should take immediate action," said Asha, looking around at the others. "We can't wait any longer. The longer we wait, the more chance there is that this signal is already too powerful for us to handle." There was a pause, and several members of the council exchanged glances. It was clear that the unease was spreading. The voices of those who had been dismissing the signal as nothing more than a glitch were growing quieter. Rill cleared his throat. "If we send ships now, we risk overreacting. We've handled unexpected situations before. There's no need to cause panic." "But what if we're wrong?" Duran asked, his voice rising slightly. "What if this is the beginning of something dangerous? We can't wait until it's too late." A tense silence filled the room. The council members understood the weight of his words. They had seen war before, terrible wars that had nearly destroyed their entire galaxy. The scars were still visible in some corners of space, and no one wanted to go down that road again. The hologram flickered once more, and then a new image appeared, a map of the galaxy, showing the area where the signal had originated. The region was unexplored, with no records of any species or activity. It was as if the galaxy itself had forgotten about this space. "We have no knowledge of the area," said Leora, the Duran captain who had been sent to investigate. "The signal is coming from a place no one has ever visited. It's almost as if it was waiting for us." "What are you saying, Captain?" asked Rahl, his tone sharp. "Are you suggesting this is some kind of trap?" Leora didn't answer right away. Her face was grim, but there was a cold confidence in her eyes. "I don't know, but I've never felt anything like it. This signal, it's not random. It's deliberate. Whoever, or whatever, sent it, they know we are listening." Duran nodded slowly. "That's exactly what I've been saying. Someone out there is trying to make contact, and we need to be ready for whatever comes next." The council members looked at one another, their faces filled with uncertainty. This wasn't just a minor issue anymore. The future of the galaxy was at risk. "We should send more ships," Asha suggested. "A larger fleet with stronger defenses. We can't take any chances." Rail shook his head. "We don't even know what we're dealing with yet. If we send too many ships, we risk looking weak. We could invite an attack before we even know what's happening. But if we don't do anything, Joran said, we risk letting whatever is out there come to us when we're unprepared. The debate grew louder, with each representative offering their opinion. Some called for more ships, others argued for caution. But through it all, one thing was clear: no one knew what the right decision was. The galaxy had never faced a situation like this. Finally, after hours of debate, the Council made a decision. They would send a small fleet to the outer edges of the galaxy, but they would take every precaution. A task force of the best ships from each species would investigate the signal, but they would not engage unless it was absolutely necessary. Prepare for the unknown, Joran said, his voice calm but filled with a sense of foreboding. We don't know what's waiting out there, but we must be ready for anything. As the meeting came to a close, the representatives left the room, their minds heavy with the knowledge that they were sending their best ships into a dangerous, unexplored region of space, and no one knew if they would return. Outside the council chamber, the stars twinkled peacefully, but far beyond the galaxy's borders, the signal continued to pulse, louder and stronger, as if something was waiting for them to come closer. The fleet traveled through the vast, empty space, heading toward the unknown. The three ships, one from each of the major species in the council, moved silently through the stars. Captain Leora's ship, the Valor, led the group. The two other ships, the Stern and the Eagle, followed closely behind, their engines humming steadily. Leora stood at the helm of the Valor, staring out into the endless darkness. Her mind was focused, but there was a gnawing feeling in her chest. She couldn't shake the thought that they were walking into something dangerous. The signal was still pulsing, growing stronger the closer they got to its source. "Captain," said Taven, her first officer, breaking the silence. "We're approaching the coordinates. The signal is nearly overwhelming now. It's like it's everywhere." Leora didn't answer right away. She was too focused on the strange feeling that had settled in her gut. Her hand gripped the armrest of her chair as she looked at the dark expanse ahead. There was no sign of life, no planets, no stations, just empty space. Yet, the signal kept getting louder. "Prepare the crew," she said, her voice calm but firm. "We might be in for something big." The rest of the fleet followed her lead, slowing their speed as they entered the outer rim of the unexplored space. The ships were on high alert now, their weapons systems activated, just in case. The signal was everywhere, filling the space around them. It wasn't like anything they had ever encountered. It wasn't a voice, nor was it a traditional transmission. It felt more like a presence, a feeling in the air, as if something was reaching out to them, calling them closer. Lyra's heart raced as she stared at the blackness. Then suddenly, the stars ahead seemed to fade, like they were being swallowed by something darker. A strange ripple moved through the space, and the signal changed. It wasn't just sound anymore, it was visual too. A massive shape appeared in front of them, as if it had materialized out of nowhere. It was unlike any ship the Council had ever seen. It was enormous, so large that it blocked out the stars behind it. The ship's surface was smooth, like dark metal, reflecting nothing. No lights blinked, no engines roared. It was silent. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. "What is that?" she whispered. No one on the ship had an answer. They all stared in awe and fear at the giant vessel that seemed to hang in the void. It didn't seem to be moving, yet it was there, looming. The signal, which had been growing louder, stopped. It was silent now, completely still. "We've never seen anything like this," Tavon said. "It's huge. What do we do now?" Lyra's mind raced. She had faced many challenges in her life, but this was different. This wasn't just an enemy ship or a space station. It was something beyond anything they had ever imagined. "We wait," she said quietly. "We don't make any moves until we know what it is." Moments passed. Tension thickened the air on the Valor. The crew waited, eyes glued to the view screen, waiting for something, anything, that would explain the mysterious ship. Then, without warning, a beam of light shot from the unknown vessel. It didn't come as a weapon, but as a signal, directly toward the Valor. The beam was soft, almost like it was reaching out to them, inviting them closer. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest. The ship had made its first move. But what did it mean? "Shall we respond?" Taven asked, his voice tense. Leora hesitated for a moment. She had no idea what this ship wanted. Was it a peaceful first contact, or was it a warning? But she knew one thing. They couldn't just ignore it. "Send a response," she ordered. "Prepare the communication systems. Let's see if we can make contact." The crew worked quickly, sending a signal back to the mysterious vessel. It wasn't a direct conversation. There were no words, no language to translate. Instead, the communication was simple, a signal that matched the one they had been receiving. For a long moment, nothing happened. The silence was deafening. Then, just as they thought nothing would come of it, the ship's surface began to shimmer. Strange symbols appeared on its hull, glowing with a soft light. They were unfamiliar, alien. Lyra's heart skipped a beat. It's trying to communicate. But how? No one knew how to interpret the symbols. They were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The other ships in the fleet watched in silence, waiting for orders. The crew on the Valor was on edge. No one spoke as they waited for the next move. Finally, the ship's surface flashed one more time. And then, through the strange symbols, something became clear, a message. It was brief but powerful, like a command. "We are the humans. We come in peace." Lyra's mind reeled. Humans? She had heard of them. Small, young, and unimportant compared to the ancient species of the galaxy. Yet this ship, this presence, had made its way to them, and it had come with a message of peace. But what did it truly mean? Was it a warning, or was this truly a new chapter for the galaxy? Leora stared at the message, unsure of how to respond. The first contact had been made, but the mystery was far from over. The council chamber was quiet, the tension thick in the air. The message from the strange ship, "We are the humans. We come in peace," had left the galaxy in shock. No one had expected this. Humans were a mysterious species to most of the galaxy's leaders. They had been talked about in whispers, their reputation unknown, their past a mystery. Captain Leora stood before the council, her expression unreadable. She had just returned from the mission, and she was still processing everything she had seen. The massive human warship, the strange symbols, the silent power it radiated. She couldn't get the image out of her mind. "We've made contact with them," Leora said, her voice steady but filled with uncertainty. The message was clear. The humans say they come in peace, but their ship, it's like nothing we've ever encountered. It's enormous, powerful, and it didn't hesitate to make contact. Joran, the Sithis leader, frowned. "This is too dangerous. The galaxy cannot afford to be caught off guard. What if their peace is a trap? What if they intend to invade?" The Shantari leader, Rahl, stood tall, his silver skin reflecting the light in the chamber. "Humans are a young species. Their history is filled with chaos and violence. They've only recently discovered faster-than-light travel. We should not trust them so easily." Leora shook her head. "I don't believe that's what's happening. I felt something when I saw their ship. It wasn't a threat. It was different. But it's clear that they are not like any species we know." Asha, the Zarek representative, spoke next. "We've all heard the stories. The humans are fierce. They don't back down from a fight. They might say they come in peace, but what if they're just waiting for the right moment to strike?" Leora met Asha's gaze. "We can't be sure of their intentions yet, but the human ship didn't fire on us. It didn't attack. It only communicated. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have already. But it could be a show of force," Rahl countered. "A way to intimidate us before making their real move." The room fell silent. There was no easy answer. The galaxy had never faced anything like this before. The humans were unknown, their power unknown. But the more they learned, the more they realized just how much they didn't know. Suddenly, a new image appeared on the Council's display, a feed from the human ship. It showed the ship's interior, sleek and efficient, filled with advanced technology beyond anything the galaxy had seen. The humans were watching them, waiting for a response, and their leader was speaking. A tall human with short, dark hair appeared on the screen. His uniform was simple, but his eyes were sharp. He spoke with a voice that carried authority. "This is Captain Alexander of the U.S. Protector. We are humans, and we are here to offer our hand in peace. But we are also here to ensure the safety of our people. We are not the same as the others you've encountered. We are not here to submit to anyone." Lygora's heart skipped a beat. The words were peaceful, yet there was a hint of something else in them, a strength that made her uneasy. She had seen leaders speak like this before, with quiet power, with the kind of force that didn't need to be loud to be effective. "Safety," Joran said, his voice cold. "Safety from what? Who are you really, humans? You say you come in peace, but what do you want from us?" Captain Alexander's eyes locked onto the screen. "What we want is simple: respect. Our people have fought hard for everything we have. We will not be pushed around, and we will not be ignored. If you welcome us as equals, we will offer you our knowledge, our technology, and our support. But if you choose to challenge us, you will see why we are feared across the stars." The council was stunned into silence. The human captain's words hung in the air like a challenge. There was no denying it. The humans were different. They were not like the peaceful races of the galaxy who relied on diplomacy and compromise. They spoke with the authority of a species that had already fought its wars and come out victorious. "They're not like us," Raul muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. "They don't follow the same rules. They don't hesitate. If they want something, they take it." Aisha leaned forward. "This is what I feared. The humans are powerful, but they don't think like we do. They don't value the same things. They're not here to negotiate. They're here to control." Leora shook her head. "I don't know if that's true, but we can't ignore the reality of their power. This ship, this fleet, isn't just for show. They are prepared for war, and they will fight if they have to." Joran's face darkened. "This changes everything. The balance of power in the galaxy has been shattered. If humans are as strong as they claim, then we may all have underestimated them." The council fell into uneasy silence once again. The galaxy was at a crossroads. The humans had revealed themselves not just as a new species, but as a force to be reckoned with. Their power, their determination, their willingness to fight for their survival. It was all too clear now. But what did this mean for the future of the galaxy? Would the humans be allies, or would they be the next great threat to everything the galaxy had built? Leora didn't know. But one thing was certain: the humans were not to be underestimated, and the galaxy's peace might be on the verge of collapse. The council room was filled with unease. The meeting was tense, the air thick with questions that had no clear answers. The humans had shown themselves to be powerful, and their leader, Captain Alexander, had spoken with authority that made every representative feel the weight of the situation. No one knew how to respond. What did the humans truly want? Were they a threat, or were they offering a chance at peace? Leora sat at the head of the table, her mind racing. She had seen the human fleet up close, and she knew that they were not the peaceful explorers they had once been believed to be. The words Captain Alexander had spoken kept echoing in her mind. "We will not be ignored. We will not be pushed around. Captain, we must decide what to do next." Joran, the Scythist leader, said, his voice low but filled with concern. "If we refuse their offer, it could lead to conflict. If we accept it, we risk inviting something far worse." Raul, the Shantari leader, folded his arms and leaned back in his chair. "The humans are calculating. They know their power, and they are using it to their advantage. This isn't just about peace. It's about domination. Leora shook her head slowly. I don't think it's about domination, at least not in the way you think. Their strategy is different from anything we've seen before. They don't rely on diplomacy like we do. They rely on their strength, their willpower, and their ability to act swiftly. Asha, the young Zarek representative, raised a hand. What do you mean by that, Captain? Leora glanced at the hologram showing the human fleet's position. It was still looming near the edge of their space, and its presence sent waves of unease through the council. The humans don't waste time. They don't talk for hours about a problem. They act. Their strategy is to show strength and make it clear that they can back up their words. They've already demonstrated that they can defend themselves and their people with deadly force if needed. Joran clenched his fists. And you're suggesting we just accept this? We allow them to make their rules? No, Leora replied firmly. But we must recognize that they will not back down. The humans are not like the older species of the galaxy. They aren't content with sitting in the background or negotiating endlessly. They want results. They want control over their destiny, and they'll fight to keep it. But what is their endgame? Raul asked. They can't just be here to make allies. There has to be more to it. Leora sighed, leaning forward in her chair. I believe they have a strategy in place. They've already shown their strength by appearing here, uninvited. They didn't wait for us to come to them. They came to us. Their message was clear. They will not be ignored, and they will not be passive. Asha looked worried. If they're coming for power, how can we stop them? We don't stop them by force, Leora said slowly, choosing her words carefully. The humans respect strength. They value it above all else. But if we meet them with the same level of strength, if we show them that we are not afraid, then they might listen. Joran shook his head. That's a dangerous game. If we show too much strength, we risk starting a war. And if we don't show enough, Leora said, her voice steady, they will think we're weak, and they will strike. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what she was saying was true. The humans were a wild card, a force that the galaxy had never encountered before. Their strategy wasn't based on centuries of diplomacy or negotiations. It was based on strength and decisiveness. We don't have the luxury of waiting, Leora continued. We need to show them that we can defend ourselves. We need to send a message that we won't be intimidated. At the same time, we must be careful. We can't push too far, or we risk provoking them. Raul snorted. That's a fine line to walk. How do we know we won't make a mistake? Leora stood up, pacing slowly. I don't know, but we don't have much choice. We've already seen that the humans aren't interested in waiting. They've made it clear that they'll act first and ask questions later. If we wait too long to respond, they might think we're weak. The council members exchanged worried glances. The situation was far more complicated than any of them had expected. They had all heard the stories of the humans, a young species that had risen to power in their corner of the galaxy. They were fierce warriors, quick to fight, quick to act. But no one had expected them to be so bold, so confident in their ability to shape the future. If we show them our strength, Asha said slowly, then they might respect us. But if we act too quickly, too aggressively, we could push them away. Leora nodded. Exactly. We need to show that we are willing to defend ourselves, but also that we're open to negotiation. If we act with caution, if we don't rush into a confrontation, we might be able to work something out. But what if they're not interested in negotiations? Raul asked. What if their strategy is simply to take what they want by force? That's the risk we face, Leora said softly. But we don't have the luxury of sitting back and waiting. We have to make a choice. The council members were quiet for a long moment. The stakes were higher than ever. The humans had shown that they were a force to be reckoned with, and now the galaxy had to decide how to respond. Would they meet the humans with strength? Would they risk everything for the chance of peace? The future of the galaxy was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The humans had begun to play the game, and it was up to the Council to decide whether they would join in or face the consequences. The galaxy was on edge. The Council had spent days debating their next move, but there was no clear decision. The humans had made their position clear. They were not interested in waiting for anyone to decide their fate. They had already sent a message loud and clear. We will not be ignored. We will not be passive. Captain Leora stared at the hologram of the human fleet, the powerful ships floating silently at the edge of their space. They had shown strength, but had they come in peace? Or was this a trick, a way to test the Council's resolve? The council room was full of worried voices. Representatives from each species sat around the large table, their eyes focused on Leora. The question that hung in the air was the same as before. What do we do next? I still don't trust them, Joran, the Sithis leader, said firmly. The humans have made it clear that they won't wait for us to decide. They want control, and they won't hesitate to take it. Roll. The Shantari leader leaned forward, his silver eyes flashing. The humans aren't like us. They don't negotiate. They take action. They believe in their own strength, and they will crush anyone who stands in their way. Leora shook her head. We don't know that for sure. Yes, they are powerful, but they've given us no reason to believe that they're here to destroy us. Asha, the young Zarek representative, raised a hand nervously. But what if they are here to challenge us? What if this is a test? They might be waiting to see how we react. And if we show weakness? Leora nodded. I know. That's the problem. If we show weakness, they will see it as an invitation to take over. But if we show too much strength, they might see it as a threat and attack first. The room was quiet, as everyone considered the dangerous game they were all caught up in. The humans had already proven that they would not be intimidated. Their message was clear. They were ready for whatever came next. We must act, and we must act now, Leora said, her voice calm but filled with resolve. If we wait, we risk losing control of the situation. If we show we are strong, but not aggressive, we might just be able to hold the balance. But even as she spoke, a part of her wondered if they were simply fooling themselves. The humans were different. They didn't follow the same rules as the other species in the galaxy. They didn't negotiate out of fear or respect. They fought to win. If we do nothing, we might lose everything, Asha said, her voice trembling. They might see us as weak, as easy targets. Joran scowled. But if we act too quickly, we risk triggering a war. And once we start a war with the humans, it will never end. Leora sighed. We don't have time to hesitate. We can't keep debating. The humans are watching us. They've already shown that they'll act first if we don't make a decision. A long silence fell over the room as the council members looked at each other, their eyes filled with doubt and fear. The humans were unlike anything they had ever faced. They didn't believe in waiting. They didn't believe in endless negotiations. They believed in action. It was the way they lived, the way they thought. They had been raised on the idea that power was the only thing that mattered. Their world had been harsh, unforgiving. It had shaped them into a species that was ready to fight, to defend their right to exist. And now they were here. The Council had never dealt with a species like this. The galaxy was used to dealing with problems by talking, by making deals, by using diplomacy. But the humans didn't want to talk. They didn't want to negotiate. They wanted results, and they wanted them fast. Lyra stood, her eyes locked on the faces of the council members. The human fleet will not wait for us. They will not stand by while we argue. They will act, whether we are ready or not. Her words hung in the air like a weight. The silence stretched on, and it felt as though time had stopped. The decision had to be made. Finally, Joran spoke. Then we have no choice. We must prepare to face them. We must show them that we are not afraid. We cannot let them believe that we are weak. Rel nodded, his voice low. We will stand together. If they challenge us, We will meet them with force. Lyora's heart pounded in her chest. This wasn't what she wanted. She didn't want war. But it seemed like it was the only choice left. The humans were pushing, and if they were not stopped, they would not hesitate to take what they wanted. The decision is made, Lyora said, her voice final. We will prepare. We will show them that we are not weak, but we will also leave room for negotiation. If they want peace, they will have to prove it. The council nodded in agreement, though none of them felt truly comfortable with the choice. It was a dangerous game they were playing, and no one knew how it would end. But the humans had already made their move. They had shown their strength, and now the galaxy had to decide whether to meet them with the same force or to risk everything by trying to find a peaceful path. The battle was not just about power. It was about belief. The humans believed that strength was everything, and the galaxy would have to decide whether to believe the same. Would they fight for peace or fight for survival? The stars seemed to shine brighter than ever before as the human fleet moved closer to the heart of the galaxy. The tension was almost unbearable. Every species in the galaxy had been preparing for what was about to happen, but no one truly knew how things would unfold. Captain Lyora sat in her command center, staring out at the vast expanse of space. The human ships were just a few light years away now. The decision had been made. The galaxy would stand together and face the humans, not with fear, but with strength. They had no choice. The humans had made their intentions clear, and they would not back down. It was either meet them with force or face the unknown consequences of waiting. The council had come to a difficult conclusion. They had chosen to face the humans head-on, to show them that the galaxy was not afraid. There would be no more debates, no more hesitations. The time for action had come. Asha, the young Zarek representative, stood by Lyora's side. Captain, the ships are ready. We've prepared the fleet, and our forces are positioned. But do you think they will really fight? Lyora's expression remained calm, though she felt a growing unease deep inside. I don't know. I hope they don't. But we have to be ready. The humans won't just walk away if they think we're weak. Chiran's voice crackled over the communication system, and Lyora turned her attention to the screen. The fleet is in position. All forces are on standby, waiting for orders. Are we really going through with this? Lyora took a deep breath. We have no choice. The humans are already here. We can't afford to wait any longer. It's time to show them that we are united, that we will defend this galaxy. There was a long pause, and then Duran's voice came through again, this time quieter, more serious. I hope you're right, Captain. This could change everything. Lyora nodded, turning back to the window, watching as the human fleet grew closer. It was impossible to ignore their power. The ships were enormous, their designs sleek and efficient, each one a silent promise of strength. The humans had never been shy about showing their military might, and now it was impossible to avoid. It wasn't just about power, though. The humans believed in something that the other species had not fully understood until now, the belief that survival and success were not just about negotiation or diplomacy. They believed in action, in taking what was needed, and never hesitating to defend what they had earned. This new era, the one that the humans had promised, would be defined by that belief. The first transmission came through. A familiar face appeared on the screen. It was Captain Alexander, the human leader. His eyes were sharp, his expression unreadable, but there was a quiet strength in his gaze. We've come to meet you, he said. His voice was calm but filled with authority. You've shown strength. Now we need to know if we can trust you. We have no interest in war, but we will defend ourselves if we must. The council waited in silence, unsure of how to respond. They had hoped for peace, but the humans had made it clear that they would not be passive participants. This wasn't just about diplomacy. It was about survival, about establishing a new way forward. Lyora took a deep breath, then stepped forward to speak. We stand united. We will meet you with the same strength you've shown. The galaxy is not afraid, But we are open to discussions. We will not back down, but we will not blindly seek conflict either." There was a brief silence on the other end. Then Captain Alexander's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "I respect your resolve. We'll see how things play out, but know this, we will never back down either." The transmission ended, and a room fell silent once again. The decision had been made. The humans had shown that they would never simply submit to the rules of the galaxy. They were different. They had come to change things. As the council members looked around, they realized that this was no longer just about the galaxy's future. It was about the future of every species that called this place home. The humans had pushed them to this point. They had forced the galaxy to decide whether it would stand firm or crumble under pressure. The new era was upon them. The rules that had governed the galaxy for so long would no longer apply. The humans had shaken the foundations of everything. Whether the galaxy was ready or not, this was the future they were now facing. Lyora stood tall, looking out at the vastness of space. "We are in this together," she said, her voice steady. "Whatever happens, we face it as one." And in that moment, Lyora realized that this was the beginning of something far bigger than any of them had expected. The humans had come, not to conquer, but to change the very fabric of the galaxy. It would be a long road ahead, filled with challenges and uncertainty, but one thing was clear: the humans had opened the door to a new age. An age where strength, courage, and survival would define the future. An age where no one would be able to hide behind old rules and old ways of thinking. It was the dawn of a new era.